we can have the recording and everything. And here's my little genius, Roscoe Terrell, the Terror. And we are here every Friday, so welcome. Thanks to American TESOL, we give a free webinar, 30 minutes. We record it, you get a certificate of attendance, you get all the bookmarks, and also all the slides. So we give you hundreds of different types of resources because we've done over 100 different webinars on different types of topics. And today we always talk about not only like great instructional practices for teaching language learners and pretty much every topic, but we also share a lot of the great things that we see from other teachers. So that way, if you want to try any of these inspiring ideas, you're more than welcome to. And the great thing is that for many of us teachers, sometimes we have we just have that period in our career where we just need something different, where we've done the same routine again and again, and we just feel kind of like our students aren't being inspired enough. So today I'm going to share with you what a group of teachers came up with to really inspire their students, which really changed their year and their instructional practice. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and share that with you. So let me go ahead and get my little genius and put him up and begin the webinar. Hopefully you can hear me okay. If not, then I will be taking off my webcam soon, so that way we can have a good recording. You can, of course, find all of our resources in the Pearl Tree, because that's where I put them off. And then you can also go to shellyterrell.com webinars, and you can also find the certificate attendance and all that good stuff. So let me go ahead and give you the link to that. And Peggy George is really awesome about sharing resources and also sharing the resources during this conversation. So definitely keep track. And Peggy, I'll add your live Classroom 20 resources as well. So why Genius Hour? What is it? And do students have to be geniuses? I think these are all kind of things that come along with this particular instructional practice. And the reason why is because a lot, and this is definitely good questions to ask, because when our students all come in, it's not as if they feel like they are geniuses, and it's definitely, there are some that we struggle with. So you might be wondering, well, what if I have a bunch of students and many of them are not really motivated or don't see their potential? Well, you can still use Genius Hour with that, because genius is just a term, and don't let it scare you, because it doesn't mean that your student has to find their genius. And you can use this with various age groups as well. But the idea behind Genius Hour and also 20% time is more about inspiring students to really look at themselves and test their potential, to really get them to see how far their ideas and their mind can go. Because what it is basically you're taking a little part of the curriculum and you're guiding them into ideas that they have and how to explore those ideas and see what they can come up with when they do explore them, when they're brave enough to do that. And that's why I like Genius Hour or 20% time. So you'll hear it called two things, and I'll explain the history about it. But I really like what Deborah Meyer says. She says that all children could and should be inventors of their own theories, critics of ideas, they should analyze evidence, and they should make their personal mark in the world. And the only way they're going to be able to do this is if they have the freedom, even if it's a little bit of time, to really not worry about grades, not worry about exploring different inspiration, ideas, testing theories, and being afraid that they're going to be punished for it or failed, or that people are going to say their ideas are very stupid. And so they need to have time for that. And unfortunately, most curriculums around the world, in any topic, especially, math, science, things like that, and then also even with language teaching, we don't give students this freedom. So a lot of teachers say, well, we can't do that. We don't have that kind of time in the curriculum. We still have standardized testing. So our students do have to go through these rigid curriculum demands. So how can you help that? Well, teachers came up with the idea of Genius Hour and 20% time. So it's dedicating an hour or 20% of the time that you teach, and it doesn't have to be an exact science. It could be sometimes you could put 10 minutes every class period. You might do something like, if you teach Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you could give Fridays to this particular time. It's just setting aside time so that your students can explore and they can do it freely. And I'll show you the steps in the process and where you can get lots of free resources and materials and learn more. And so what are the origins of this? Well, like many great ideas, it came from Google. Daniel Pink, who is the author of Drive, which is a really incredible book, came up with this wonderful book, and it talks about motivation. And it's motivation for everyone, not just education. But a lot of people were moved by Drive, and I definitely think you should, there is a resource on Drive, and it talks about what Google and Genius Hour. But he talks about that in his book. And what I want you to do is, if you haven't seen Daniel Pink already, then you should definitely check out his blog. And definitely this little 2-minute video he does about Drive, because it's really inspirational. So I will share that with you. And the reason, there was many teachers who happen to be moved by this. So Daniel Pink has somewhat come into the teacher community, and he's even been a keynote speaker at some of the conferences as well, because he's very motivational. And as teachers, we all know that the key to getting any of our students to explore a topic or be very, very successful in our class is motivation. If your students are not motivated, then they will not learn your content. They will not pass tests. They will not get good grades. But most importantly, if they're not inspired, if they're not motivated, then they won't really get to experience the true value of learning. And that's what we want. We want students to see that learning is something that they're going to need to do the rest of their lives, and that's very important and is what leads them to achieving a meaningful life. So Daniel Pink pointed out that and it doesn't say here, but in fact Google has said that their best ideas, their best labs, the best kind of things that come out of it, hi Alex, Cindy, Jake, and Peggy, is from this time. So Google has amazing practices with their employees. And the reason why Google has so many great ideas, I love Google, I'm like a huge Google fan. And what happens is that Google, they give 60 minutes of the work week for different employees to work on new ideas and master skills. Now, there's been news recently that I think we might have done away with this time. I'm not sure. Jake might know that. I think I actually heard it from him, but I'm not sure. But whether or not that's true or not, Google in the past has credited some of their best labs, some of their best ideas and technology to giving their employees this time. Not only do they give them this time, but they also allow them to use the resources to explore this time. So what happens is it's supported, they're able to work with each other, they're able to access tools, and they're really supported in exploring these ideas. And not only that, after they come up with these ideas, a lot of these ideas are implemented. So you can see how that can really encourage innovation. It can encourage us to explore, and your students to discover things that have never been discovered before. And teachers who have done this, and teachers who have given time to their students, there are a lot of students now who have actually done incredible things. They've invented apps. They have found cures for things like some parts of cancer. They have one girl found this type of vest, and it really helps you against having shark attacks. I mean, they have come up with some really genius ideas, and they're like 12 and 16 and 15. So it's really, really amazing. Not that your students have to do that. So So don't think that. So what does this look like in schools? Well, the other part of it was inspired by a teacher as well. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video. The reason I'm pausing the video is because I have this book. This is by Angela Myers. And it is a great book, so I'm going to come back, and I should have had it with me, but hopefully you can see it. Is the Passion-Driven Classroom. And Angela Myers is really inspiring. She came up with this this book, and a lot of people had this discussion because she does a study guide. So I went ahead and I shared Angela Myers' study guide sessions she was having and the actual discussions that she was having as well. So I'll go ahead and share that link. You can actually purchase that as well. But the Passion-Driven Classroom, Angela talks about what if we allowed students to explore their passion. And it's a really great concept. Angela does so much work, and she's definitely someone to follow. What happened was there was Denise Craiggs, who was a kindergarten teacher. There was Galette Zivi, who was a grade 6-7 teacher. And there's Joy Kerr, a grade 7 teacher. And now there are many others, but these were the three women and teachers who were part of this discussion, and they said, you know what, we're going to take Daniel Pink's and we're going to take Angela Myers' ideas, and what we're going to do is we're going to come up with Genius Hour. We're going to implement Genius Hour in our own classrooms, and not only that, we're going to have a Genius Hour hashtag on Twitter, we're going to have a Genius Hour chat, and we're also going to write many books, and we're going to do a magazine. And they did all of these things with it. So it's really amazing. They started a movement, and this movement has continued with some amazing teachers. So I want to share with you those resources because a Genius Hour is something definitely I will be implementing in my upcoming course in that I'm going to have in January. But recently I haven't actually. So these are definitely the people who you want to follow, and you want to see their work, and they give you student examples, and they give you student examples from all over. So you can find teachers. If you teach 4 and 5-year-olds, you can find Genius Hour for really young students, and then you can find Genius Hour for university students as well. So I'll go ahead and share that with you. So I think personally, it's harder to do online, and most of my teaching has been online, and that's why I haven't had the chance to implement this. And the first part of the Genius Hour is definitely research, and I'm going to show you why, because this isn't something easy. It's not like you can walk in a classroom, and it's not like you can say, hey kids, guess what? I want you to explore your passion, and I'm going to give you time to do this, and also, at the end, you're going to come up with a project, and then you're going to publish this and present this to everyone. And why can't we do that? Well, first of all, most of your students don't understand sometimes what it is that they're passionate about. Sometimes when you're 11, you're 12, you love a lot of things. You're really good at I meet people all the time. They play the guitar, they skateboard, they're an artist. And they have all these exciting things. To choose one would be, and then you meet other students who are the opposite. They are very demotivated. They feel like, I recently spoke to one, and he basically says, I don't know anything that I'm good at. And he's much older, but he really thinks he's good at nothing. So it does work for both, and it's a little off-putting that it's called Genius Hour. That's why a lot of students will put 20% time too. That's why teachers will call it 20% time. And the reason it's 20% time is because other companies have adopted this, and they call it 20% time. So you'll see Genius Hour 20% time. Sometimes it'll go by both. So. But these teachers called it Genius Hour, and they give you lots of free resources as well. The other thing is, when you're talking about passion, maybe there's something that your students aren't really passionate about, but they want to explore. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that they're full of passion, like that's their every waking moment. But it could be something they're very interested in, and they'd like to see, hey, maybe I'd be really good at this. Maybe one of them really thinks they could go into, for example, being an FBI. That's something that I really enjoyed when I was growing up. I thought I was going to be an FBI agent. I also thought I was going to be a marine biologist. So there's a lot of things that I really thought that I was going to be, and having the opportunity to explore those paths would, are really definitely something that is beneficial. And so I think that you could use it for that as well. So you don't have to tell your students to be genius, and they don't have to be passionate about these particular things that they explore. So I want you to know that. But you should go ahead and you should test what your students are interested in about. And that's the first kind of question. You come up to them and you ask them. The teachers, though, are very passionate, and I love that. And they share so many free resources and incredible resources that it's just really amazing what the Genius Hour community has produced, because they've really sparked this movement and they feed this movement pretty regularly. So if you go to educationismylife.com, you can read about the Genius Hour Manifesto. They'll tell you about the first conversations that started. They'll give you a lot more history. They'll even share with you the tweet chat that they had with Angela Myers and the beginnings of this. But they'll also share what Genius Hour is about, kind of the beliefs, and you can implement it in really different ways, so you get to really experience it. Now, Peggy George, I just added her resource about her classroom, Classroom 20 Live free webinar on it. So, and she had all of them talk about it. So definitely check that out, so that way you can hear it from them themselves. So I'm going to share with you a few things about this as well. And then not only that, you can go to educationismylife.com, and the other great thing about it is they give you free books. You can actually download the Genius Hour Manifesto. You can download Education by Design, Leadership. You can download all of these books, ebooks, and they're free. You just sign up for their magazine, which is full of more free stuff. So how can you lose with lots and lots of great, free, passionate, inspiring books? So how do you get started? Well, that's a very good question. And I think one of the teachers, there's many teachers now that do Genius Hour. There's also a lot of, they do it differently. They figured out their own process, because in the beginning, there was a lot of teachers who just said, hey, this is a good idea. I'm going to implement an hour, I'm going to implement 30 minutes to my students doing these projects. But they didn't have the process or the platform. They just knew Google did it, and they came up with their own. And they had a lot of, the thing I love about the Genius Hour community is they share with you the struggles that they had. And so you learn a lot from that. And for me, that's what I've been studying. In fact, I mentioned it in my book, The 30 Goals Challenge for Educators, and I'll share that with you later. So I'm going to show you some ones that I think are really good. And one of them is Mr. Solars. Mr. Solars has 11, 12, 13-year-old students, and he actually will go through the step-by-step process. Now, when you go to Mr. Solars' Weebly, that's one of the places that I really explored, because I think he does it all. He shares with you everything. He shares with you each of his students blogs about the process, and that's one of the steps that seems to be kind of common with a lot of teachers, is that their students, and that's part of it, is your students, not only do they come up with a topic, not only do they come up with a topic. Mr. Solaris does it really good. What he does is he has them create essential questions about different types of things that they're interested in. And I like this process because he gets them through saying, I like football, I like playing the guitar, I want to be an FBI agent, and to ask different questions and really think about where they want to focus and how they want to take that focus. So that first step is really important. And if you don't get them to do that first step, you're going to come up with a lot of problems, okay? And then I'm going to tell you about what happens if your students aren't exactly on the bandwagon and aren't excited about this, and they're kind of a little bit resistant about it, because this is definitely something that if you don't plan for will happen. So it's good to know. But if you do, that's the thing. If you do all of this, your students are going to wow you. There are some things, all of them are going to be able to introduce you to their classmates. And at the end, they don't just leave your classroom thinking, I learned math or science or English or any type of topic, but they think, wow, I have the ability to explore something that I'm really interested in, and I know the process that whenever I'm interested in something, how to go by it. And that is such an incredibly life reward, to be able to learn when you're young how to explore your interest and connect to experts and get motivation and everything like that, because not enough do we walk students through that process. So this is definitely like a life-changing, meaningful way to do this for students. So the way that you do this, he does is he even gives you, oh my gosh, I really love his work. He gives you little videos of how he does it. All of this for free. You know, I just love him. He's just so good about showing you all the stuff of walking it through. Like, he really wants you to do this, and he really wants you to get it. He shares with you his Google Forms. You can even copy the Google Forms on how he does the essential questions. He does a Google sheet about it. He has the KWHLAQ chart that he learned from Sylvia Tolentano, which is an incredible teacher as well. He shares with you all of his students their blogs, so you can actually go through the blogs and you can see different types of ways that the students explore their topics. They have to present the topic, so there are many different types of resources that he shares, and I think it's a great example of really seeing this in action and also getting the different types of materials that you're going to need. He also even gives you parent materials. He shares with you what are the different types of ways that you can get parents on board, and that's really important as well. So I'm going to go ahead and share with you that. Thank you, Peggy, for sharing this KWHL chart. I think it's really good to brainstorm as well. So I'm really glad that they went ahead and he shared this particular way to do it. Now, in some cases, when I was reading his blog, some of the essential questions, the students had to go back and they had to revise. So sometimes there's going to be that revising period for students, and they're not going to always go with their first love. So what does this look like in action? Well, the first thing is, and you want them to get them to document it. Now, it can be like a private blog. It doesn't necessarily have to be, or a journal. They can definitely write in a journal and keep track of it, but it's definitely important that they have a place they're always writing about, they're always reflecting, and they're always doing some kind of work in that you check regularly, because if you don't do that, then you're going to run into your students maybe being demotivated. You definitely have to make sure that they keep on track of this. So, and I'm going to share with you the different steps as well. I think I put the steps here. Oh, here it is. So you can find all these documents and you can get them through. Now, one of the other steps as well is definitely sharing different types of resources. So curation is part of that, and I forgot to put the curation link, but definitely curation, we talk about that in so many of the webinars, how you can use Pinterest, how you can use EduClipper, how you can use Deagle, any of the bookmarking sites, Pearl Trees, like you saw earlier, and I'll share later, and really get students to curate resources while they're going through this. This is research. So the great thing is it teaches you research writing, how to do long-term research, how to do field research, how to conduct interviews, you cite information. So all of these skills, how to read, write, craft questions, how to do search terms, how to search, how to evaluate data, materials, what people say. So all of this is something that you're teaching your students. You're teaching them how to be digital literate, how to be digital citizens, and how to do this in a world of a digital world. So curation is bookmarking and social bookmarking, but it's a gathering. You can move it around like a gallery. There's many great tools to doing that as well. And so I'll go ahead and put that in the bookmarks. Not only do they write these questions, and you got to remember, this is an 11 and 12-year-old coming up with all of this. And this is a topic that they're interested in. With Mr. Solaris, they come up with a lot of different mind maps. They come up with different visuals. You can do something like goal mapping, and I can share with you those resources as well, because we have done topics on visual mapping, brainstorming, using graphic organizers. So these are definitely, you can get them to create s'mores about it. You can get them to create different posters about it. So there's so many different things you can get your students. They can create videos about it. They can create podcasts, same. So any way that you want them to document it and keep on sharing, and get them to have new ways of sharing as well. So not only do you want them to do something like maybe mind map or goal or visual mapping, but you do want them at some point, maybe to put up an interview that they had with someone that was an expert on the topic. Mentors are important. So not only documenting things, but mentors are very, very important. Your students, not only is it important that they come up with a topic, that they really discover their plan and path for researching it, and also they have to come up with how they're going to test this out. So for example, one of them, in Jeffrey Hill, and I'll share with you his blog post later, Jeffrey Hill had he really loved skateboarding, and he really wanted to design a skateboard that would go over a certain, it would accomplish a certain height. He had a certain ramp that he had built, and he wanted a skateboard that would do this very successfully. So he wanted to study things about also the skateboard, the angles. So he tried to learn math in it too as well. So what happened is that he needed mentors, and you might say, well, how am I going to find mentors for all of this? I don't necessarily have friends that are skateboarders or who are scientists. Well, in social networks, there are millions and there are billions of authors, experts, people in the career. And because it's so easy to talk on their Facebook page, on their blog, or on Twitter, you can get a hold of them and you can have a chat with them. It doesn't mean that there's only one mentor. You could do that. You could go to the businesses that are around your area, and I've done that a lot. And actually, a lot of businesses, we did the water system, SALT, the San Antonio water system here. We also did meteorologists. We also talked with engineers at the companies here, bioresearch companies, and they were all willing to mentor the kids when I was doing a mentorship thing. And the reason why is because this is part of their program. A lot of businesses, even local businesses, will have where they have to have volunteer time and mentor, and they really love doing this. So you could find physical mentors in your area, but also online. And one of the ways too is you can have your students explore different communities in that area. So one of my favorite TED Talks is by Will Richardson, and I didn't share that, but I'll go ahead and put in the bookmarks. But Will Richardson talks about his son who ends up joining a film community, and he ends up creating films and short films. In this student did this outside of class, and he learned all of that by joining a film community online. So there are many. You can ask your personal learning network. And if you don't connect with teachers already, we do have different webinars on that as well. So I'm going to wrap this up soon. There are also really good sites out there for that. One of them that I found that's good for Genius Hour is lifetramp.com. And what it is there is it has different mentors that you can connect with, or your students can connect with in different places around. There's also Google Helpouts, but sometimes you have to pay for that. So So there are communities where you can find different types of mentors. And I think the best way that this works is not to have your students with necessarily one mentor, but to have them now with many mentors. And the reason why I say that is because then they get to see different people in the field, and they're offered different scenarios within the field. And then they can really get an understanding of the variety of ways they can be in that field. So in case, for example, your students find that, no, this isn't the path I want to go, they can really be there. Oh, thank you, Peggy. You're a genius. So during this half hour, we have Peggy George, who's our genius for this half hour. And then you can, so do students always get, what happens when students say, what? When you come in and you're excited and you say, guess what? I'm going to let you do your interest and your passion project. And they say, no way. And I understand how this works because I used to do a lot of creative writing, and I was getting students at an alternative school. So these were many boys who got in a lot of trouble, so had to be sent to an additional school. And I was trying to get them to do slam poetry. And it took many tries of me going in before they got it. And some you'll get resistant from so much. And Jeffrey Hell, who's just phenomenal with this, Jeffrey Hell even wrote a post about it. And I think it's so meaningful about how he was considering doing it, because getting rid of it, because what happened is that his students were very much like that. Like they said, why can't we have a regular curriculum? How come we can't have a regular teacher? Why can't we study in a book? And why can't I just pass tests? Because that's what I want to do. And a lot of students will want to do that sometimes because they're used to that. And you have to understand that for many, many years, your students have been programmed that learning is a specific way. And they have learned that if they just go through the certain steps with every single teacher, mostly, that they've had, they can make a good grade, they can pass. And that's kind of the tragedy of school. So when you throw something like this, that's really going to test their minds, that's really going to challenge them, that they have to put their heart into, their thoughts, their creativity, and hard work in, they're definitely, some of them are going to challenge you. And so he didn't kill it, but he does let you know about the struggles. And then he writes this post, and this was written for his students. He's telling them, and this is what you need to kind of have this conversation with your students too, when you're looking at doing something like this, is saying, hey, I believe in you enough that I'm not going to be that typical teacher, that I'm not going to be the teacher that thinks that your mind, I think your mind is more than just part of reading a textbook and passing a test. I really think that you have the ability to test your mind, to test your ideas, to be creative and see where it goes. So I'm going to trust you a little bit and give you the time to do that. And I think when you have this talk and really approach it that way, you get a lot more students involved. But you do got to push them a lot, and you do have to train them, because this isn't something that they're used to, and this isn't something most people are used to. And it does take a lot of stepping out of your comfort zone. So the best way to do that, and really be prepared for this, and that's why I really want to do this with the physical classroom, and I'll try this in my upcoming physical course, is to study all the great ways that teachers have implemented this. And if you go to Education is Life, you're really going to find some great examples, because one of the things they do, if you keep scrolling down on Education is Life, where you get all the free ebooks, is that they go through what it looks like in each of their classes. And the great thing about that is that they also are from different countries, and they have different ages as well. So you can really see with these examples, and you can be inspired by all the projects and what resulted as having the Genius Hour. And they have plenty of examples. So it's definitely something you want to research. One of the best places to research as well, not only the Genius Hour Wiki, but also Joy Kerr has made this incredible, and remember, she was one of the founders, she's made this incredible live binder. So you can click on that, and it's going to give you, you can click on any of the tabs, and you can explore the topics. So you just keep clicking on tabs, and it's all right there for you. So you get tons and tons of resources, and it's all in one binder. You can find all of these resources, and especially the ones that, as well, that Peggy has been sharing, that I've just added as well. And you can even find the slides if you go to the Pearl Trees right there. And then you can always get your certificate of attendance if you go to either ShellyTerrell.com webinars, or you can go to the live binder of this, which is the bit.ly one. So thank you so much for doing this. For joining us today and listening. You can find, I do talk about Genius Hour in my book, The 30 Goals Challenge for Educators, which will be coming up soon in November. So that's very exciting. Next week, we will be here again, and we will be exploring. Let's see if I can see that. And you can get your certificates already, by the way. Just click on where it says certificates. But next week, we talk about preparing students to pass any exam, because I know that that's definitely something that's coming up in October for some of you. So it's definitely one of those must look at. And the reason why I'm using that is because there's a lot of ways that I did this with students that took very little of my curriculum time. So kind of is